Welcome, everyone, to the zoning board May 14th hearing. The first issue on the agenda was to be have the election for the board members. However, Mary had something last minute and couldn't make it, so we'll postpone that till the next meeting so that all full-time members, 5 board members, will be present. In addition to that, on the calendar, it looks like we're going to be scheduled for the next hearing on June, looks like 18th. We fall back a week in June and July due to the summer schedule, although we meet once a month. We try to follow the planning board, who usually meets twice a month. So currently, right now, it looks like we'll be scheduled for June 18th. Any other members have any comments that want to be addressed through the board? If not, Joe, you all set?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to the first meeting. Any conflicts on this one here? Mary's not here, so on this panel for the first hearing, it will be myself, Dave Pine, John Evans, John Dagnes, and Charlie. I'll go down to you on this one. I'm sorry, Brian, because you have to abstain on another one, okay? So it'll be Brian, John, Joe, David, Pine, and myself. With that, let's bring in the application of Barlow Signs. Why don't you come up front? If you've got something to post, you can have a seat first, and then what we'll do is anything that you need to pass out to board members, please do. You need to post something on the poster board for the public to see, and the audience, please do that as well. After I read the hearing, we'll turn it over to the applicant, and welcome. By the way, this is a continuation, correct?
Correct.
So we've already gone through the process of the application for the variance for the sign. I'll read the public hearing notice again, and we'll pick up where we left off. This is on the continued application of Barlow Signs, care of John Robichaud of 158 Greeley Street in Hudson, New Hampshire, for a variance from signage provisions of the zoning bylaw in relation to a parcel of land located at the intersection of Medway Road and Beaver Street in Milford, known and numbered as 124 Medway Road, and which parcel is commonly referred to as the Kmart Plaza. The variance is sought from the provisions of section 3.2 and 3.9 of the zoning bylaw in order to permit the erection and utilization of a freestanding sign containing 320 square feet of area, more or less, with a height of 60 feet and an 8-foot setback from the property line. With that, I guess I'll kind of give a brief overview. They're applying for a new pylon sign, which is above our, of course, our zoning regulations. This is, we briefly heard this at, I think, 2 months ago. Let me make sure that we have this correct. Was this March? Was this a March meeting?
I'll say it's February or March, yes.
Has anything changed?
Well, we dropped the height from, originally we had gone for an 80-foot sign, and it's been brought down to a 60-foot sign.
All right, would you do me a favor, grab the microphone and start with Exhibit B of what you're doing? And kind of stand up there and kind of let us know what you're doing again, just to kind of update the board member and anybody in the public that's in the room too.
Okay,
Please, thank you.
testing. Hello?
I'm sure it's working.
Basically, what we have here in Exhibit B is, this is the property. Kmart would be located, or the old Kmart would be located in this parking lot over here. And basically behind these trees is the Highway 495. This is the part of the property where we intend to place the sign. This is along Beaver Street here. And in the picture, we did a crane test to basically see the visibility from the highway as far as how high we would need to go in order to make it visible and make it effective from that road. So basically, this crane is extended up, and the top of this man is at 60 feet. So as you can see from the highway, the sign at 60 feet should be visible. Now, it's not as clear through that. We kind of went in a clear space and took a picture where we could see that. There are a lot of trees that are kind of in the way, so that's why we originally did the higher sign. The client is willing to negotiate and do a 60-foot sign in order to still gain visibility from the road, in order to make it not that's not completely ineffective. The picture here that I've added is new from last time. This is taken from the site where the sign will be located and at grade. And it basically shows that the highway here at grade is about approximately 20 to 25 feet above the grade of where the sign starts. So we're basically losing 20 to 25 feet before we even go up over the highway to make it visible. The reason they want it visible from the highway is there's 80,000 cars that travel that road every single day that go by this site that are potential customers to bring into the plaza to the tenants and make it very prosperous for the town and for those tenants. That's kind of, I guess, the overview here. I do have with me the representative from the owner, too.
Okay, can you kind of give us a brief overview based on the comments from the planning board that you're aware of?
From our initial meeting?
Yes,
Basically, the main concerns were,
that's it.
And the sign fell down.
basically the main concerns was the overall height. You guys felt that the 80-foot height was a little too aggressive, and you guys didn't want to have something that tall within the town. And also that you were interested in having an owner representative here, and that basically you're worried about having multiple pylons, like tenants coming in and wanting their own pylons and adding pylons to this property, and you didn't want to put the sign before any tenants come in. But the owner representative is here to explain like how they get tenants in and what this sign will do for this property in order to make this project proceed.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Al Rossi. I'm a vice president of RD Management. We're the owners of the property. I was not here at the first meeting, but I have.
You can have a seat. They'll hear you at home, and we can certainly hear you. Thank you.
I was at the planning board meeting 2 weeks ago. We have Alan and Majors as our site engineers, and we're now progressing through that process to obtain site plan approval. We have another meeting next Tuesday night, and we have a meeting on Thursday as we continue that process. Our objective is to redevelop the former Kmart building, make it a first-class shopping center. We'll be demising the 85, 90,000 square foot building. We have tremendous interest from major national retailers. We will be building another 20,000 square foot smaller retail building on site. We have a existing pylon on Medway, as you know. We'll be redoing the entire facade of the buildings. We're reclaiming and redoing the entire parking lot, new pavement, new curbing, new striping, and landscaping. So it's a total redevelopment and upgrade of an old tired shopping center that we hope will be an added value to the community and something we can all be proud of. As you know, with the major national retailers, visibility is very important. 495 is a major road that everyone wants to be visible from. As I drove here this evening, you could see some of the signs, maybe not so pylons, but the visibility aspect as you drive that road. As Grant said, that we are already in a hole. The purpose of that pylon is to have some visibility from a major road that all major national retailers are interested in being seen from. Aside from that pylon, we will have building signage, but the building signage will be on, 30 foot lower from what it is. There'll be no other pylon being proposed. We have the existing one in Medway and this one. And the purpose of this one and the reason we're here tonight is that we absolutely need to have visibility from 495 to attract major national retailers. So I hope you can support this proposal.
Okay. Before I ask any questions that I may have, I'll turn it over to Charlie. I'll start on your end, Charlie, if you have any questions.
Yeah,
have these retailers or ones that you're talking with?
Yes, we are. We were not on the leash yet, therefore I can't publicly announce names, but we are, we have interest for 50,000 square feet already. The end of this month, there's the ICSC in Las Vegas, where all the retailers meet, and we have tremendous interest. And once we have the people, the one retailer that we are negotiating with, certainly others that we know will support them, because there's a certain mix that you see in shopping centers. So the answer is yes.
And the sign that you're showing here, that we're seeing, is one that you feel will satisfy them as far as?
Yes, and that's one of the things they're aware of when they do a marketing study. They come out there, they look at the area, they do the 1, 3, 5 mile radius, they look for visibility, they look to see where the traffic is generated from, and as Grant said, 495 is a major road with thousands of cars passing by, and it's basically critical for them to be able to go back and get the support of their senior management that says, you know, this location, you know, has visibility from a major, you know, state road.
All set?
Brian?
The same concerns that we had the last time you were in, which are, we don't know who the retailers are, we don't know what the sign's gonna look like. We don't know that you're not gonna be back in here when you sign up a retailer who needs more space or a different location. I mean, we usually get these applications, we know what the sign's gonna look like, instead we've got a blank space. So we don't really know that this is the final application, and we don't know what the sign's gonna look like.
That pylon side will represent the demising of the Kmart building. Kmart building will be the plan we have before the planning board has it into 4 tenant spaces. Those are the names that would be on that sign. The other people would be on the sign that's on Medway. And the square footage then will be equally divided based upon their pro rata share of the occupancy in the building as to how many square feet they get. That's standard in the industry.
So yeah, it's basically gonna be like 4 major logos. I mean, yeah, we don't have the logos yet, but that's what would be added to that sign. So the sign's gonna look just like that. It's just, it'll have, you know, Marshalls or whatever, you know, whatever major retailers. It'd just be the logos on there, you know, for brand recognition.
I get it, I'm just
Yeah.
concerned we're putting the cart before the horse again.
And I was gonna make a comment on that, but I'll wait. Go ahead.
I mean, if there's an interest in the board to see the logo, once we have tenancy, we'd be very happy to come back to you and show you the how we divide up that square footage on the face of the sign. But we need to be able to say to these national retailers that we do have visibility from 495. It's a little like a chicken and egg routine. So we certainly have no issue coming back to this board and showing you that face, how we're dividing it up to the tenancy, and so you can see that.
Are you the manager or are you the principal of the company?
I'm a vice president, I'm a corporate officer.
Of the management company that's actually gonna be
Yes. We're
doing
the
what
owners.
with this facility?
Yes, we're the
You're
owners.
not the principal ownerships of the building, but you're the management firm of the project.
That's correct.
I was actually very, very outspoken on this the last hearing, and frankly, I'm gonna say it again, and I agree with Brian. This is the cart before the horse. I'm actually a member of the ICSC too. I've been to Vegas. I can't tell you how many times representing ground sites and everything on Fortune Boulevard you see up there basically was a piece of ground with no signage first. That came afterwards. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I can go to Vegas and try and recruit retailers myself. I've done it. That's how we got most of Fortune Boulevard filled, but there was just ground there at the time. You people are under a redevelopment and a proposed project in paper trying to get through the planning board, and you're indicating that this sign will drive your retailer to the location. False. Any retailer will tell you if they need that signage, and then you can come to us and ask for that signage, and at that point in time, I think I'd be prepared to make a decision. Because down there right now, I don't see any master plan, at least for this application, besides this giant thing that's gonna be sticking out of, across from the Tage Inn over there, that's gonna try and attract 495 traffic. I don't see any master plan about the rest of the signage in that plaza. It looks horrendous. You've got Bugaboo with a freestanding sign. You've got the other sign that's got, I don't know how many different levels of poor configuration. And then you've got no continuity of signage in any of the shopping center, the strip area center, not the old Kmart building. So I'm just not comfortable yet to go down the road and allow this to happen without a better plan in place. I guess that's my comment. Gotcha.
My only comment about it is it just a quirk of the topography that requires a sign of 60 feet height? In other words, the fact that the roadway, obviously 495, if it was on the same level of Beaver Street or vice versa, you'd be
Yes.
talking a 30
That's
foot.
that's strictly it.
Yeah, you lose about 20 to 25 feet before, if you were to put about a 20, 25-foot sign, it'd just be ground level from 495. So yeah, you need to, a lot of the height's just to get up to the visibility.
Have you asked the state to try and do any cutting on that area?
It's the grade, it's not necessarily the trees. I mean, you're looking at the actual grade of that, which that picture shows, is actually that high. It's not the trees. To get over the trees is where you need the extra height. I mean, even at the 60 feet, you're kind of in the trees, because that's just, the picture we took was actually from a clearing. It's not from how you see that roadway. So you actually don't have that good of visibility at 60 feet completely the whole way. You do see it enough where it makes it an effective sign, but it's not like that the entire way. So you're losing that right off the bat. Now, there is another sign that's right up the road that I did pull a permit on, was that Toyota sign. And that sign's 60 feet, plus it's above grade. So it's about 10 feet above grade from the highway. So that sign's almost 70 feet above the roadway. And that's right up the street. And it has, that property has similar qualities, where it's adjacent to the highway. And they have a pylon sign along that road, and it's a secondary pylon for them.
Actually, that company came in after they committed to come into the community. Dave?
Yeah, my opinion is, hasn't changed from the last time. I don't really care if it's 60 feet or it's 80 feet, you know, that feet with the height, but I'm not convinced that, you know, a national retailer is not gonna come in and say, hey, I've seen it before. They're gonna want they're gonna want a different sign, or they're gonna want it to be 90 feet or 100 feet, so I'm not prepared to support something like this. You know, certainly in the future, I certainly would be, you know, if, you know, someone's gonna make a commitment to come to Milford. But certainly I wouldn't be.
Would it satisfy this board if we provided it in a confidential manner, a lease requirement that says we want a sign from 495? These things are in leases. I mean, is that something that would give you the comfort that we are seriously negotiating with a major retailer, and that these requirements are in the lease as to what they want?
I've negotiated with the major retailers on Fortune Boulevard, and not one of them had required any signage to have 495 exposure. Not one of them.
Well, that's the people well, I don't want to,
I've been there, so, and I'm still there, but, and again, my position will be consistent with the same. When a national retailer wants to come into this community and provide, you know, jobs within the community, I think at that point in time, this board would be sensitive to what the need is of something that is tastefully done, that is not gonna be outlandishly, I mean, ridiculous as far as, you know, appearance is concerned. And I think at that point in time, I'd be prepared to make that decision. But if I had to make that decision right now, tonight, I can't support it. John?
I have to think that you could explore the removal of those trees I know that you said there's a 25-foot grade already for 495 above ground level. But removing those trees, I think, would alleviate the need for a sign this size. You're looking at what is allowed now in this town, 3 times the square footage. You're looking at 2 times the height that is allowed. Therefore, you know, I think other options must be explored. Number one, removing the trees. Number two, what about signage on 495 itself?
Like a DOT sign?
Yeah.
They have special requirements for that, and they usually don't put retailers on there. You usually have to be food or gas, you have to have 30 or more seats. There's all, done some of those for other customers, but generally not retailers. I don't.
Okay. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Mark?
The trees in this area, do we know who owns that property? Town, state?
State would own those.
State.
State owns it? And on the assumption those trees have maxed out with their maturity, they're probably not gonna get any bigger. They look like they've been there for a while, but then yet I couldn't tell how old the tree is. I don't really have a problem with the sign at 60 feet. I think if this is the sign that you're actually going to have, this is the sign. It's not gonna be rectangular in some other direction. This is it. Personally, I just think that if you do fill that, and it's a hell of a view from 495, and there's a wealth of surrounding businesses around it, I can't help but think that those businesses would thrive or do better by getting off, checking out this site, and finding other things such as Kohl's, et cetera, around it, Applebee's and all those around it. I do agree with, you know, the cart before the horse thing to some degree, but all my other questions have been answered. But I personally don't have a big issue with the height on it. And that's it.
Okay, anybody in the audience care to be heard on this? The issue concerning the direction, I got a quick question on that. Is this being seen on 495 one way or both ways?
One way.
One way.
The 80 feet would have allowed it to be seen probably from both directions, but
Okay.
Which direction would this be, south?
southbound.
Okay, with that, if there's no other questions or go ahead, John.
I just have one comment. Obviously, we know that that property has to be developed. It can't be left the way it is, that's for sure. And so my only concern here is that we want a good retailer to come in, use that property and so forth. Obviously, we understand what your problem is, and you understand what our problem is. Is there any way before that we can continue, that we can deal with this? I don't know. I don't know how we could come about.
As I said, I could go to your attorney and we could produce the requirement of the one major retailer we're looking at, and you could see it's in the letter of
But
intent.
before we take a vote, are you asking for a continuance?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
No.
Continuance.
So we'll push this out to June. All right, why don't we'll continue this to the June 18th hearing, and with that, I would need to have, I would say, why don't you have a sign this here, so we'll continue the hearing until then, maybe we can get some clarity. Let's see, just put in your calendar, June 18th, follow up with town council. That would be great, okay? Super. Yes, I do. I'm going to put your card in here, by the way, okay? Thank you. All right, great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, this is Cartier. What's this?
Okay, hearing is, next hearing's on the continued application of Ronald Campos. Is Ronald Campos here?
I'm off of this one.
Okay. Thanks for coming back in. I believe the members on this one here I don't have here. Because this was, we could not hear this because the site plan was different?
Yeah.
That's correct, okay. All right, so, David, Mark Casio, no, Brian, why don't you take this one, you won't be on the next one.
Don't we have the panel from last time?
No, because we couldn't hear it because he had the wrong site plan, remember?
I thought
We don't have
I thought
it.
we started the hearing.
We did start it, and then we had to stop it.
If we started it, we need to have the same.
Yeah, but
panel.
it would be the 5 main members, and Mary's not here. So that's what we would have to go with.
We'd only have.
We'd only have the 4.
That's, that's.
No, actually, no, because Dave Pine had to excuse himself. So it was, Mary's gone, it was Daga, Joe, you were on it. Yeah, you were.
I just wanna make sure we don't run into a problem.
And
we
I
get the wrong
believe,
vote.
I believe Charlie was on it,
I think so.
yeah. That's who was on it. Yeah, because,
As long as we have 4.
right. So it was Mary, it was myself, Joe Evans, John Dagnes, Brian Frock, and Charlie. Mary was on it, too. Mary's not on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Charlie, you were the alternate. Yes, I think so. Okay, so we're going with those 4. Okay, so this is on the continued application with Campos detailing, and this time you have the correct
Yes.
filing of the
Yeah.
proper map? Okay? You want to put that up on the board and supply the same, do you have the new copy that was filed? What's the date on that plan, on the bottom right-hand corner? Bottom right, bottom,
Before I turn second?
in the top says 422?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same plan. Great, thank you. Okay, as I indicated before with the last hearing, concerning the questions about, did it have harmony with the general purpose, there was no answer. Concerning and explaining the reasons the proposed use of the premises will not create undue traffic or congestion, the applicant had no answer. Concerning the proposed uses of the premises would not cause harm to the neighborhood or nuisance or hazard affecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, the applicant had no answer. There was a litany of, Brian, you were on this. Here it is here. There was a litany of violations. There's been an updated letter issued to us in the file as well. That file, that letter. Let me read this letter into the file so we have it. The planning board reviewed the petition listed above at the regular scheduled meeting held on May 5th and recommends the following unfavorable recommendations. See town planning letter. Subsequent to the March 31st recommendation of the planning board regarding this special permit application, it has come to the attention that numerous zoning violations persist on the subject property. Specifically, the violations consist of the following. The current operation is not contained on the applicant's property and already extends into the adjacent property, including in the special permit application. The parking and the vehicle display areas are not clearly delineated and/or striped as shown on the last approved site plan. The number of vehicles displayed exceed the approved number of 10. There exists an outdoor storage area for tires along the rear property line. These violations are in addition to the deficiencies I had originally noted regarding the sufficiency of the site plan that had been submitted with the application. I share the planning board's concerns regarding the current operation and to allow for the expansion of an existing auto operation onto the adjoining property at 11 Beach Street is clearly ill-advised. Therefore, I recommend a denial of the request be issued for the special permit for the subject property. And that letter, again, was dated by Larry Duncan, and the follow-up letter from May 5th. With that, please tell us what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I want to extend my parking lot space for 21 cars more for display, for used car sale. I used to have 10 parking space, now I want to put 21 more.
Currently, what were you approved for previously?
For 10 cars. For
And
two cars
can you show
display.
us on the plan where those 10 cars are?
Yeah, right here. 1 to 8, and the 2 cars for display over here, for used sales.
Okay.
Those 8 cars for work on it.
Okay. But you don't even have control of that site.
Yeah, I just got this parking lot because I lease. That's why I want more space.
But it's fenced right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I think if you remembered at the last board meeting also, the building commissioner had a long list of letters with this, so if board members need to review that letter, I think it's in your file. But with that, I'll turn it over to the board members. Charles, I'll start with you.
Yeah, Mr. Campo. That's right, you're
Yes.
Mr. Campos, okay. Have you done anything to the property since you've been here and you come back here to get it more under violation under the present
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah, I did. I already take care of those problems with the tires and stuff. I already removed it, everything. And I could see in the new pictures, no tires in the back no more like it used to be. I took everything out. So I don't want to deal with the used tires no more, that's why.
And so you're gonna expand it, and how do we know that you're going to not run back into the same situation?
I hope not, because I want to deal with the sell cars only.
And you're saying that the main reason that you ran into violation was because you got involved with tire sales?
Yeah, because I need, to add. But now, if I deal with the sales cars only, I don't have to deal with those stuff no more. So it's gonna be more,
All right. And you didn't, prior to this meeting, did you talk to the building inspector, have him come down and look at your property, what you've done right now, to get him to come in and give us a more favorable report? Because everything we see in front of us right now is not favorable to your situation. And I was just wondering, did you do anything to try to get that a better view for us from
yeah, what I did, I cleaned them up everything, make those new stripes, put the signs on, so right now it looks good.
But you didn't call the building inspector?
No, I did not, no.
All right, I'm set right now, I might come
You
back.
are on the panel, by the way. No, he's not on. You are, Charlie. That was the previous panel. Kaz is on it, too.
Can I see that?
Yeah, you're on. That was the last one.
Okay, good.
Okay?
For now, that's the questions I have, let's see what other board members have to say.
So, okay. You weren't here, so you can't comment. John Dagnes, you have a comment?
Yeah. Mr. Campos, you said on the side of the building, you have 2 spots to sell. two
Yeah,
new-
for display only, for sell cars, yeah.
Display only.
Yeah.
What do these pictures signify here? What are all these cars doing?
Those cars belong to the dealers when I work on it. They drop them off for us to clean them up. But those cars gonna be specific in the back of the building. Cause I only need 6 cars, 2 for each bay.
Now, these recent pictures, are these recent pictures that you've taken there?
Yeah, I took it today.
because that's never looked like that.
Yeah, that's why I wanna keep like that, I think clean. And also, the new spot is gonna be paver. Like where now has a bunch of rocks, I wanna,
You're paving the whole lot,
yeah.
and the 21 spaces that you're looking for, I assume are over here where the buses used to be,
Yeah, there used to
correct?
be the buses, yeah.
Okay. That's it, David.
How many unregistered cars do you have on the site?
Where now?
Yeah.
About 10 cars,
And how many do you have a license for?
or 2 cars. Those 2 cars in the front, that's a license to
So you're
sell,
already,
plus
so
8
you're
cars.
currently in violation.
No, the total 10 cars on registry, 8 cars for customers and the 2 cars for display.
That are unregistered.
Yeah.
You have 2 cars that are unregistered.
Where now is the 2 cars on registry, and I have 8 more spaces for customer, employees, but no more than 4 or 5 cars belong to the dealers on registries.
I went by there today and you had like 4 or 5 cars that were unregistered there.
Yeah, for the dealers, yeah. Like those pictures from today, if you see over here has a tree, probably see one more here, because they drop off a day.
Here's
yeah.
my concern,
Yeah.
okay? We've been trying to address the situation with you for well over 2 years. And you have not complied until you needed something. Now, all of a sudden, you're cleaning it up, and I'm not confident that that's gonna stay that way. That is a very, very busy area down there. The registry has problem parking as it is right now. So, you know, I'm uncomfortable granting anything until I see some history of success with what you were supposed to have been granted the first time, that you did not conform with. So that's my concern. That's my concern.
Yeah, that's why I get those extra space, because sometimes I can't control the dealers, they drop her off.
But you couldn't work the last time with what you already had, and you couldn't conform the last time. What makes us believe that you're gonna conform this time?
Because you're gonna have more space to work on it. If I
Well, you
ha-
couldn't work with the small space you had before,
No, put it,
and you had violations outstanding that you did not correct until it was actually forced on you.
yeah, that's why, because those space I have is not enough space for me to work on it. So right now, if I have more space, basically not gonna be,
Maybe you need a bigger location. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody from the audience like to be heard?
I just have a question, I
You
want to
can't,
go
you
back.
weren't on the hearing.
Huh?
You can't. You didn't
Oh,
hear
I
it. This was a continuance, sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, with that, we had to have your last word, and we'll take it under advisement. Anything else you want to share with the board?
no, I'm all set.
You all set? Okay, great. All right, thank you. The hearing's been closed, and we'll render our decision at the end of the night. Okay. 7:45. Running a little late. This is for the application of the Woodland School Building Committee. I'll read this real quick. This is on the continued application, on the application of Woodland School Building Committee of 52 Main Street, Milford, for a variance from the sign provisions of section 3.9.2.1 of the zoning bylaw in relation to a parcel of land owned by the town of Milford on North Vine Street, Milford, occupied and utilized for the Woodland Elementary School. The relief is sought in order to permit the replacement of an existing aged wood sign with a new sign with a double-sided electronic message board in a new location between 2 driveways as part of the larger school project. Notwithstanding provisions of section 3.9 of the zoning bylaw to the contrary. Concerning the, where are you? Concerning the application, there is a plan in the file. All board members should have a copy of that. Just quickly on the application itself, what circumstances exist to the soil conditions and topography of the subject premises, and it is, applicant states it's a school located within the residential district. Concerning the question if the variance was not granted, what hardship would be caused by the circumstances described in 13 above? The applicant states it would prevent the needed informational sign, which has significant benefits to the students, parents, and the public, from being established. See attached sketches, which we have on file. And then concerning the applicant, state why you feel the grant of the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. The applicant states it is common to have a sign in front of the school. With that, the planning board did hear this at their May 5th letter, and it was voted as a favorable recommendation we sent off to the zoning board. Concerning the letter, it indicates that the applicant requests a variance to construct a freestanding sign on the property in conjunction with the new school facility. The proposed sign is to be 30 square feet, double-faced, internally illuminated freestanding sign with a 12 square foot changeable copy electronic message panel on each face. The proposed sign is to be located between the two new driveways. As per the sections, and again, we outlined the zoning bylaw sections, changeable copy electronic message panels cannot be display images or messages that change more than 8 times a day or for less than 1 hour duration per each image of message displayed. This does not include time and temperature signs. Subject property totals over 22 acres, dramatically larger than any of the surrounding residential lots. Further, the lot is over 1,390 square feet of frontage on North Vine Street, much greater than the 90-foot minimum RB frontage on all the other lots in the area. Given the large expanse of the property, the 30-square-foot freestanding sign will not be obtrusive given its placement on the property. Therefore, Larry Duncan had also voted favorable to be sent off to the zoning board. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant to tell us what you're trying to do.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
Shoot. Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Nero. I live across the street from where the new Woodland School is to be constructed at 7 North Vine Street, about 20 feet from the access road. I'd like to get some information into the record. At approximately noontime today, one of our neighbors had a coincidental conversation with a member of the Woodland School Building Committee. My neighbor described how he was coming here tonight to speak against the electronic sign that was to be constructed, and that his committee wished to install. The committee member informed the neighbor that categorically the committee has never authorized anyone to apply to the building inspector, to the Larry Duncan, or to the planning board, or to you for a variance to construct an electronic sign. We had several conversations with the building committee member. Each time he vehemently asserted that they never authorized the requesting of a variance and authorized no one to move forward. We contacted a second committee member that we were able to reach. He confirmed exactly the same thing. No electronic sign has been brought before the building committee for approval. Both members stated they clearly recall the sign issue was raised. Someone mentioned an electronic sign, but the cost was prohibitive, and the consensus of the committee was to install a sign that conformed to the town bylaws. A sign just like the signs in front of each of the town buildings, in front of each of the schools. Again, no one was authorized to come before you. I contacted Mr. Chakey and informed him what I had learned. He said he would present me tonight with minutes of the meeting in which he was authorized to move forward. He presented me with minutes that indicated that in the future, after the committee reviewed the sign drawings from the architect, that he would then seek a variance. He was unable to show me anything that authorized him to come to you, before you people. This conforms exactly with what the two other members told me. The issue of the electronic sign was raised, the cost was prohibitive, and they voted, or they agreed to put a complying sign. I believe that this at least raises the issue whether Mr. Chafee is authorized to come here, and I ask you to please postpone this meeting until we're able to resolve this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nero. That what you'd like to do?
No. What I'd like to do is have you hear it and either accept it or reject it. Essentially, may I speak?
Well, yeah, that's what I'd like you to do.
Well, very definitely, some of what Mr. Nero has mentioned is absolutely correct. We did vet this sign situation, and back as far back as September of 14, we had started the process, and yes, some of us wanted to know what the difference would be from a mechanical sign, rather an electronic sign or a standard sign that you see around. And I'll just go back to, if I may read to you from September of 2014, under design review, front entrance, and so forth. It said the school building committee reviewed and made the following comments. A marquee school sign. The school building committee would like to see designs showing the marquee school signs either digital or manual. It may be in addition to or as the main sign. One potential option discussed having granite columns on either side of the marquee sign with woodland above. That was back in September of 14. If we move into October of 14, the architectural firm, HMFH, presented options to the building committee. The committee requested instead electronic signboards on a solid base. HMFH will develop sketches and will include in the scope of the 90% cost estimates that were sent to the Department of Education. That was in October. We move now to November. To make the long story short, I won't bore you by continuing to read. In this room, which is where we meet, at a duly posted meeting, they were instructed to do what they did, was to include the electronic sign in the documents that went to the Department of Education. The town administrator, also a member of the committee, was asked, do we need to apply for a variance? The answer was yes. So I'm not personally asking you for a variance. The process, as was explained to me, is because we're in a residential area of town, there is no such thing as a compliant sign without of this particular size, 30 square feet, that did not require a variance from the ZBA. So therefore, the process was undertaken. We applied as we had to, and here we are today, because the planning board approved this thing, and the next step in the process was to get the variance so the sign could be installed. Now, I'm comfortable that the way we do business, I could read some things to you, but I'll just take a little bit of time with you. We don't vote as a group on every issue. If consensus says we want the lobby to look like this, they get directed to do that. If the consensus says we want it to do this, we do that. Are there issues we vote on? Absolutely. One of them, for example, was the use of the new roadways during the period of demolition. We didn't want them used, because you know the heavy trucks, we didn't want a driveway to and from the school to be damaged before we actually put a student into the building. So that, in order to have emphasis in our business, was taken to a vote, so that if perchance we had a problem. It's in the minutes that they were directed to do thus and so. So we're here because I don't believe there's any reason that we shouldn't be before you, and I don't believe there's any compelling reason for you not to vote on this issue, yes or no. I have a problem dealing with the mystery voices that come out at some late date. We have open meetings. Members on the committee are never silenced. Everyone has an opportunity to speak. And you make your point there, and when the consensus has been reached, we move forward. That's basically all I can say.
Well, and let me kind of clarify for, for the record, so that it's clear. This particular application is signed by Aldo Chaki School Building Committee. It was filed stamped on April 1st. It did go in front of the planning board, which was a public hearing. Now, from the legal standpoint of something being filed to this board, from a legal standpoint, that has been done. Whether or not it has to go through an entire building committee vote to be able to put this particular proposal in front of this board, that's not my jurisdiction, I don't know. This application has been signed by and on behalf of the school building committee, therefore, this is the document that we are working with tonight. This will be the document that will hear this tonight. You all have a copy with you concerning what the sign is gonna look like. The audience will have an opportunity to speak after we certainly have any questions or comments. And then if a decision is rendered or if it needs to be continued, we can address it at that point in time. So with that, I know that one had a conflict because they live too close, but it will be, sorry, my fault. Joe, David, John, myself, and Mark will be hearing on this one here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and then we'll go through board members, and from that point, then we'll turn it over to the balance of the audience. Any questions?
No, I have no questions.
David?
Mr. Chaki, is there any controversy that you know of with the sign?
The sign itself,
Yeah,
none that I'm aware of.
okay.
It's a sign that, as the chairman read, it'll be about 15 to 20 feet off of the road. It'll be perpendicular to North Lion Street.
Here's the
It'll
location.
be two-sided. You'll see it when you come in off of Conway Street or you come down Highland Street.
It's here, and I think that's his house.
And it's computer controlled,
Yes, it is.
so the principal of the building will have control of the sign?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Mr. Chaki, the location is 20 feet off of where the present one is?
No, no, no.
Where that present sign is?
That whole front section's going to be reoriented. There will be more driveways coming in.
I assume that.
It'll be in the general area. Where you're looking at that sign is going to be, where that sign is, it's much closer to what will become a new parking lot. So there'll be the driveway's coming in, so it will be in that general vicinity, but not really at that point. That existing sign will be relocated on the site at some point in time, just to
Quick
hold it together.
question, Aldo. Where the sign is located on this plan, is that where it's going?
No, not necessarily. There'll be a roadway in there, Mr. Chairman, and I can't tell you exactly what part of the roadway will be there. It may very well be close to that location.
It would be really helpful if we had a plan of where the sign was going on the site.
Well, my apologies, but there'll be the roadway, the roadway that's there, and that's where the sign will be. It'll be in the middle of the.
That would be my comment. I would be uncomfortable until we see a site plan showing where the sign's going.
If you wish, Mr. Chairman, you could certainly continue this, and I'll get you exactly what you need.
That's my personal preference. I don't know what the board members want to do. I think there's probably some sensitivity to the location.
Mr. Chaki can pick a spot if he wants to and say it's gonna go here. I'm fine with that. This is a sign for a school. What do we need to continue the meeting for?
Well, if there's, I don't even know if the residents know where it is. You don't? How high is it?
The problem is that there's gonna be a sign for the school. The problem is it doesn't, an electric sign doesn't belong in that neighborhood. None of the
Do me a
other
favor, let us finish our conversations, and I'll turn everything over to you, so it's done in an orderly fashion. Thank you.
Mr. Chaki, can you come up and show us where the sign would go?
Okay, these are the driveways, it'll be right in here.
Is it gonna, is
Yeah,
it-
it'll
So
be this area,
it's
so-
off of Vine Street more.
Oh, yes, yeah.
In towards the school.
Exactly,
But
it'll
you
be
don't
about
know- you don't-
15 feet. This is
15
the,
feet.
yeah. This is the area,
And
there's a
it would
driveway
be
here
this
and there's
way,
a driveway here.
perpendicular to Vine,
Yeah, it'll be
right?
perpendicular to Vine. It'll be lighted, so when you're coming down Highland, you'll see it. When you're coming off of Congress, you'll see it.
And the residences over here aren't affected by this.
Well, you know, I don't know what the scale this would be, but that's where it's gonna be. It's gonna be in the middle of that island. I can't tell you exactly where, but it's going to be in that area right there.
yeah, makes sense, right?
It's a big sign. How far it's in, I think. Exactly. Put that out here.
You want it over here, I would think, because you want to be able to see it, they want to be able to see it.
Then you're closer to this.
Yeah. Here's the road right here, right?
Yeah.
They're showing it right there, it's probably about 10 feet off, that's probably where it's gonna go.
Okay, I didn't see that.
That little dot right there, that's where the proposed sign location.
No questions.
Mark?
All my concerns about where it was going were raised by the chairman, so that's good. My only question is the actual sign itself. It's gonna be a designated sign, memo, or whatever you're gonna put up there.
On both sides,
On both sides, it'll be the same message on both sides.
Yes.
There won't be any flashing or blinking.
Certainly not in my mind. That's no place for it.
Right, it doesn't. So it'll be strictly one particular note or message for 1 hour minimum. And how brightly lit is this sign?
I'm sorry?
How brightly lit is this sign?
It'll be bright enough that when you're coming down Highland Street onto North Vine, you're going to see it clearly. It's not gonna be a dull sign, they're gonna be LEDs, so we all know what the LEDs are. So it's gonna be bright enough.
Or will it be lighting up the neighbors?
That's, I don't believe it will. One of the, I don't believe it will. But I believe what you folks have done with other signs is you've put caveats on that particular sign that it cannot be on after a certain amount of time. Remembering that the sign is going to be illuminated for a part of the day. It may be illuminated during the day, but a reasonable time, when the illumination is off, I would expect you people could do that if that's the case. And I'm not proposing that we have a sign at midnight on North Vine Street, because I don't know that that serves any purpose. I believe when you put the sign on at the Brookside School, there was a light configuration on the sign of some sort, but it wasn't an illuminated sign like this one. You put a 9 o'clock curfew, as it were, on that particular sign. I would fully expect that that might happen here, so that, remembering, once the school is built and we turn it over to the town, we have no control over what occurs on that property. It will then be in the hands of the school committee. And I'm quite sure if there was a restriction on its use, then that should put that in whatever judgment you people decide. So, yeah, I would be perfectly frank with you. I don't want to look at a sign all night if I were living across the street or up the end of the street. I definitely wouldn't.
Well, you answered most of my next questions. That's good. My last question would be, are you open, or is the possibility exist of being able to turn down the illumination at certain points?
I suppose we could do that, you know, when the school, when it's designed, they can have some sort of a dimming feature on the sign, which I have no problem with. And believe me, I'm not looking to illuminate everybody's house on North Vine Street.
So my thought
Stop the
process
way.
was on certain colored letters wouldn't need the same illumination.
We could certainly, if you, yeah, we could certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and again, you know, I'm uncomfortable, and it depends on what other board members want to do, but I'm uncomfortable specifically since the neighbors have showed up here for a reason, and I think the reason is to make sure that they're clear of where this location of the sign's going to go and how it physically can illuminate or impact their area, and I think that's reasonable. If a continuance is needed to get that clarity from the neighborhoods, I strongly suggest that that does happen. I'm prepared to continue the hearing until we've got some type of location that everybody's happy with. I mean, something similar to what we did on Congress Street with the other school. What was it, Brookside? I mean, I thought that sign was done fine, and I don't see any residents in that area complaining about the illumination or any of that, so, that's my comment.
It's not an electric sign.
It's not an electric spotlight.
That one was just a spotlight? Oh, look good. I thought it was illuminated.
That's what we wanted Woodland.
Spotlight, okay.
Yeah, spotlight.
So with that,
Dave, I don't remember on the last signs though, continuing the meeting, because we never talked about.
we had a location, they had a site map
It's
of
not
the
the
location.
location. I mean, I'm speaking as one person, but a school deserves a sign. But an electric sign, like a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, does not belong in a family neighborhood. We shouldn't be looking at, you know, neon lights, LED lights especially, and I don't even live right across the street. They're gonna need a sign. I don't see why you can't have the slip-in letters like every other school in this town has with the spotlight on it. People are gonna be able to read the sign. It
Okay.
doesn't need to be running or not running, whatever.
Okay, do me a favor, when you address everything through the board, please tell me your name and so that we've got it for the record. That would be helpful. That was a good point. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Your name?
Jerry Tardif, 9 North Vine Street,
Hey, Joe.
directly opposed to the portables that were erected. I'm just using a sideline. If you want to test illumination, you're welcome to visit me at midnight. You won't see a sign. You'll just see the security lights from that building into my bedroom.
Okay. Yes, John? Please take the microphone, it'll help.
John Seaver, 7 Debbie Lane. I'll be right across behind North Vine Street. I'm sure you know where I live. We have 6 schools in this town. They all have, except for Woodland, Woodland, they all have signs. None of them are illuminated. None of them are electronic. Brookside is a great sign. We'd go for that. That's not double-sided electronic. That's a spotlight in front that somebody obviously manages. We'd be fine with that. The high school, 3 times the size of the Woodland lot, 3 times. The high school services more than 1,000 kids more than Woodland. It has a small sign, reasonably small sign that's not illuminated. So why does the school that's in the most residential area, Woodland is the most residential, it's completely surrounded by residents. It's the only school of the 6 that's completely surrounded by residences. Why is that one going to have lights? And someone says, is there going to be any blinking? Well, it's going to change every 8 minutes or 8 times. I mean, that's sort of blinking, isn't it? And we're going to have images. They mentioned in their application there'll be images. There'll be words, there'll be images, there'll be stuff on one side, stuff on another. And to think that somehow people are going to turn this off at 10 o'clock at night, that's not how the world works.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I need to sit down.
Grab the microphone for me, please.
Can I sit
Yeah, you
this
can use
one?
that, sure.
I've not been well, so, and I've got a speech. Shirley Nero, 7 North Vine Street.
She's got the microphone.
I'm okay. I've dealt with school building committees and school committees and Woodland since 1976. They've broken every promise they've ever made. They're gone, new people come. We didn't make that promise, and this is where this is going. So what time you turn it on or put in the statute is not, you can't find these people. Okay. After receiving the memberships of the committee presenting the boards that have brought this proposal so far, I feel like the underdog versus the town of Milford, the town engineer of Milford, the town council of Milford, the town planner of Milford, the building inspector of Milford, and so on. The planning board of Milford approved a 30-foot sign, more than triple allowed, double-faced, 24/7 internally illuminated sign with the addition of 12-square-foot electronic messaging panel for the school department of Milford, requested by the school building committee of Milford, and who will be forwarded to the zoning board of appeals of Milford, despite minor concerns that it could be distracting for neighbors. One said, it's not an $80,000 sign. Confusing dollar signs with lumens and decibels when describing light and sound. Our town representative pointed out that the site is 22.44 acres with 1,300 feet of frontage. The abundance of available resources available to them would be a good reason to get that thing away from residences. Most people have no working concept of scale. I have designed signage for residents, commercial, industrial, and highway. I have designed billboards. This proposal is in the category of a commercial sign. It is incumbent upon me to familiarize you with the arena into which you are delving. Firstly, this is residential B area of my town, my family's foundation home, and therefore my bed is set back the required distance from the property line. In 1976, the town of Milford decided to construct North Vine Street sidewalk unusually close to the narrow residential North Vine Street. Therefore, all the goings-on of the school are closer to the residences and my bed than any other school in Milford. Not Congress Street, not Spruce Street, not Walnut, West Fountain. They're all wider, and they have more room between the property line of the school and my bed. So the claim that there is no difference from the other schools is not valid. Despite all promises and wishes, electronic and electric devices age and malfunction. They hum, they flicker, they buzz at a direct inverse rate of the availability of the repair people. Presently, there is a double transformer unit, a street light, a school light, a subterranean Verizon substation, accompanied by an above-ground Verizon panel, all about 50 to 100 feet off my bed. Imagine a balmy night when it's nice to open the windows. I have 3 layers of drapery shades now to protect my sleep from the current light and sound show. So the claim that the 30-foot internally illuminated electronic double-sided 24/7 sign could be a minor distraction to the residents across the street, to me, is laughable. Coming attractions, more planned lighting on the 2-lane island-separated school entrance street across from my bed. Also, 130 car parking lot with even more lighting, not to mention the headlights of all those cars across from my bed. Currently, with the town's logic, having the Mendon Drive-In playing Star Wars outside my bed would be deemed unburdensome. The approval would render my bedroom with all the ambiance of a cheap hotel room with a neon sign flickering outside the window. The concept of this 30-foot sign, steel, plastic, electronic signage, welcoming people to woodland, is oxymoronic and devoid of any aesthetic design sense. How much more appropriate would be an artisan-conceived and executed wooden sign if there truly is exigency for the 3-story billboard put in front of the billboard sign, put it in front of the 3-story school so that the residents are at least protected. I ask you, is this proposal in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaws? I ask you, Will this proposal not cause harm to the neighborhood or create a nuisance or a hazard affecting the health, general welfare of the public? I ask you, the variance were not granted, what terrible hardship would be caused? After all, they have 22.44 acres and $61 million to work with. I ask you why you feel the grant of the variance is not going to cause substantial detriment to the people's good. I realize it's difficult to oppose fellow town board committee meetings, members, fellow employees, but this is one of those times to use the power bestowed on you to protect the residents, to protect those who make this place the community it is. You have the power. I hope you have the character.
Thank you very much.
May I,
Yes.
the previous speaker mentioned a 30-foot sign. I'd like to clarify, that's 30 square
I
feet.
tried to correct it.
Okay, that's fine, I just didn't
Thank
want
you.
the previous speaker to go away thinking it was a 30-foot sign.
Anybody else want to be heard? Please make sure, if you would, keep it strictly to the sign issue, and let's not, I think we kind of get what your concerns are, but go ahead, Mr. Nero, please go ahead.
Thank you. As I told you, my name is Dan Nero. I live directly across the street from the proposed school and sign. My front property is 20 feet away from the access road where this electronic sign is going to be run. Mr. Chaky says probably all night, but if you read the not all night, if you read the application, it said 24/7, all day, all night. 365 days a year, 40 feet away. 20 for the street and 20 in. North Vine Street is in a residential area. The building committee was allowed to not have any setback requirements. All the trees that were there just a few months ago have been cut in front of my house. I now have a setback of approximately 15 feet and a 200 car parking lot directly in front of my house. There is no buffer zone in reality. I will have two 30-foot access roads, a total of 60 to 70 feet counting the center barrier, right in front of my house. We as a community have had 3 electronic signs in town. One on 140 at the Union Building, one across the street at Dunkin' Donuts from that Union Building, and on West Street. All commercial districts, the only place where these electronic signs have been authorized. Each sign has created a great deal of controversy and public discussion to ban this type of sign. The selectmen have repeatedly talked about and been opposed to any electronic signs in Milford. The committee, the comments that were made at these meetings were they were tasteless, carnival-like, disruptive to the neighbors, disruptive and distracting to the drivers, and they are an eyesore because of this sign controversy. Next week at the town meeting, we'll be asked by the selectmen to further regulate this type of signage, to seek to restrict large unsightly signs in Milford simply because they're unsightly and make the community look classless. The selectmen have recently asked businesses along Main Street to remove and improve the quality of signage on Main Street because we look like a carnival. They talked about it openly recently.
Please kind of stick with the sign issue that we're in front of right here.
I think it all relates. They're asking for an exemption from.
And I understand that, but stick to the applicant and this
sorry.
particular sign. Thank you.
We have 7 town signs in Milford, 5 at each of the schools, all standard and all compliant. They need no variances. None of the magnitude of the offensiveness of this type of sign. They're non-electronic, they're all lit with spotlights in the evening. They meet the needs of the school department, obviously, or they wouldn't have constructed 5 signs in front of 5 schools. We have no informational sign at Woodland. For 30 years, there's never been one. This would indicate there's no need for one, or they would have put it there. We have 2 town signs advertising town events. They're both the same size, both compliant, one on Diller Street and one at the town library. No electronic signs. They provide the dates and times of important events. In all cases, they meet the public need. There are no electronic signs in front of any public building or any commercial building other than the 3 I mentioned. All pre-regulation, yet the commercial ones. Most of the town signs and school signs have been placed and replaced recently. None of them have been replaced with an electronic sign, reflecting no need for an electronic sign. The sign for any school or town department meets their needs without any electronics. The purpose of the Woodland sign is to inform students and parents. Almost all communication with parents and students is through classroom handouts and discussion, and parents receiving emails of any upcoming events, not signage. Mr. Chaky mentioned the sign would be perpendicular to my house, and they'd see it from the east or the west, coming from Congress Street or Highland Street. The fact is that 20 feet in, the sign will be blocked by the trees on the left-hand side and the trees on the right-hand side, which are 50 feet high. They can't be seen from anything other than being immediately as you pass that sign on the right or the left. So you will be driving in the access road, and for approximately 3 seconds as you pass it going 5, 10, or 15 miles an hour, you will see something flash off to your left or your right as you're coming out. You can't see the sign coming from my street, North Vine Street. You can't see it exiting the school. You can only see it on the right and the left as you pass it for seconds. I ask you to think, are you aware of any electronic signs within 20 miles of Milford? The answer is there are none. In Hopkinton, Upton, Mendon, all our surrounding communities. You know where they are? In Worcester, Framingham, Woonsocket, and along Route 9, not in residential areas. It's unclear what the petitioner is asking for. A variance request is based on exception. We want it, but what they're saying is, we want a sign. It's contrary to the law, we want a sign. They want this sign for their whim and personal preference, not any demonstrated need. There is no demonstrated need that either orally or in writing has been placed before you. This is a requirement to seek a variance. They said it's informational, but that's all it is. That's not an exception. Necessity is the key factor in requesting a variance. When a variance is sought, it can be based on a variety of reasons that agree and meet legal standards. Economic harm, established hardship, unique necessity, other compelling reason. The petitioner has failed to meet any of these standards. They have failed to establish any hardship, any harm, any unique necessity, or any unique circumstances or special need. Why do you need an electronic sign as opposed to a conforming sign? Nobody has mentioned that this evening. They have failed to establish their basis. They have failed to establish any compelling reason to seek or obtain relief from the bylaw. They have failed to establish that the bylaw places any undue burden on them. The petitioner has failed to submit any documentation, either orally or in writing, that meets the legal burden. They've failed to establish that there is a unique need, or that their needs are that cannot be met with a conventional sign, which complies with the bylaw. There's been little discussion of a conventional sign and why it can't meet their need. That seems to be an obvious reason. You have to present to this board, we cannot meet the need of the school because, and nobody's answered that. Why? There are 5 schools, 6 schools, 5 of them have conventional signs that are compliant. This one asks for an exception and fails to tell you why that it can't be met with a conventional sign.
Okay.
Further, since the petitioner is the town of Milford, this guy here represents the town of Milford. In essence, he's your appointing authority. It would seem to me that he should be held to a higher standard or burden of proof to preserve the integrity of the law and objectivity of the system. As you know,
I've got to shut you off, Mr. Neri, because this is not relative to the sign we're dealing with right this minute. You're now going again on characters. We're talking about a sign here, and we're going to be
sir,
voting on a
every
sign.
sentence that I have read to you.
You're going
addresses the
after
sign.
an official, or you're starting to go down the road
Sir,
that
I
is
didn't
not
go after-
directly related to the variance of this issue of the sign in front of us.
Every word out of my mouth has related.
You're rambling.
to
I'm
this
sorry, Mr. Neri, but
sign.
you have been rambling.
May I
Is there
continue?
anything else that you need to direct with this sign?
Yes.
Okay.
As you know, the board can only consider the reasons offered by the petitioner in seeking relief. The board must cite those reasons in its decision. The petitioner has offered no reasons, none, why he cannot comply with the bylaw, or why the bylaw places undue burden on him. To my knowledge, your board has never granted a variance for an electronic sign, either in a commercial or a residential area. Granting this variance meets no legal standards and will set a precedent, especially since the petitioner is the town of Milford and has presented no unique reason for the variance. How does the board justify rejecting any future petitioner for an electronic sign who has any manufactured commercial reason for a variance? The petitioner who offers any hardship, unique necessity for an electronic sign. All they need do is cite this precedent. We will have numerous electronic signs all over the town. The selectmen have said they want none. You will not be able to defend your rejection of the sign of any future request, and certainly not in any court of law, because it's arbitrary and capricious. In my opinion, zoning regulations are implemented to protect the homeowner. Offering relief from these regulations should only be granted in very special and compelling circumstances. The petitioner's burden is to establish those special and compelling circumstances, establish the harm the law has created for them, and the petitioner has failed to establish any compelling reason why they cannot comply with the bylaw and need relief. Electronic signs were banned or strictly controlled in Milford because of their offensiveness to the public. They speak to the level of sophistication of our town, the professionalism of their business people, the quality of its citizens. For instance, if you go to Sudbury, Dover, Wellesley, you will find none of these signs. However, you do find them in Framingham, Worcester, Woonsocket, and along Route 9. The sign bylaw was created to prevent this exact type of intrusiveness, offensive, tasteless, gaudy, and low-class appearance. One final thought. I heard that sigh. Sometimes there's something that demonstrates what we are all about as a community, our integrity, the quality of our leaders and citizens, the quality of our town, our level of sophistication, something that defines us as a community, like Draper Park, the town park, the fire station, our town hall, or if we have a trailer park in the center of town. This sophistication is obvious to anyone who drives through places like Dover, Wellesley, Sudbury, or Duxbury. I'm not sure if putting an electronic sign meets this, in a residential neighborhood, meets this criteria, but it certainly speaks to the concept of our level of sophistication. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else, sir? Yes, sir. Grab the microphone for me, sir.
My name is Jerry Bruscia. I live on Redwood Drive for over 35 years. I want to make one point, and I'll make it very brief. My wife and I walk around that block every day on North Vine. The first point is most people don't obey the speed limit during school. And the second point is I think the sign should be less obtrusive and not more obtrusive, because there's enough distractions on the road today. People going by doing their makeup with their phones. And the last point is nobody ever stops at that stop sign from North Vine to Congress. So I think it's a safety factor. It's plain and simple.
Great. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, with that, you have the last word before we take it on and invite. We'll do a vote unless you want to continue it.
No, I don't want to continue
Okay.
it. I believe what you have heard, Mr. Chairman, is the folks don't want a
Illuminated sign.
electric sign there.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a question of location, it's a
Right.
question of the sign, so.
Okay, great. We'll
You just
close the
need to make
hearing,
your-
and if you want, we'll address this vote right now. So, with that, personally, I'm not in favor of an electronic sign, so I'm voting no.
I'm voting no.
It's two. Huh?
We're taking a vote on this
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
All those in favor, just by saying aye? 5 main members? No? Electronic board's out. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
You'll send that to us, Dave?
Sure will. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it my turn?
Okay, with that, we have the last hearing of the night, and this is on the application of Lorielli, is it?
Lorelei.
Lorelei.
You can call
Awful.
Lou.
Thank you. And that's 4 Harris Ave in Milford. Give me a minute, let them, you want to grab the door? Great, thank you, Kelly. Okay, let me just read the announcement. This is on the application of Lorelei here of 4 Harris Avenue, Milford, for variance from the provisions of section 2.4 and/or 2.5 of the zoning bylaw in relation to a parcel of land on the southerly side of Harris Avenue, known and numbered as 4 Harris Ave, and owned by the petitioner. Subject relief is sought in order to construct a 6-foot by 12-foot addition on the easterly side of the existing house upon the subject lot. By the way, does anybody else have a conflict on this? So if not, it will be the main board members, and Brian, you're back on this one, okay? Okay, on her application, she stipulated, what circumstances, if any, relating to the soil condition, shape, and topography of the subject premises, which does not generally affect other land in the zoning district, the applicant states no. Concerning the question if the variance was not granted, what hardship would have been caused, all she indicated was it will only not be able to enlarge her kitchen area in that section. Concerning the application, as she stated, that we feel a grant of the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public good, the applicant stated will have no impact on others since it's only a 6 by 12 enlargement of a personal kitchen. With that, I have a planning board reviewed this at the May 5th meeting and recommends a favorable recommendation. See town planner letter. Town planner indicated that the variance is to construct a 6 by 12-foot kitchen addition to the existing single-family dwelling on the subject property. And the proposed addition will add about 7.5 feet from the side east property line where 15 feet is required by the regulation. The subject property is a 6,098 square foot non-conforming lot with 50 feet of frontage and width of 15,000 square feet in the area, and 90 feet of frontage and 100 of width are required in that RB zoning district. The lot is slightly irregularly in shape, with the lot lines not being perpendicular to the street. The existing house is 8.4 feet from the east property line at the closest point, and it is orientated parallel with the street and not with the side property line. Therefore, they recommend that a favorable report be sent off to the Zoning Board of Appeals. In the file, we have a plot plan. Mark, if you could just pop that up there on the wall, that would be helpful. And I can probably give you another, oh, maybe I don't have another one.
I have one.
If you have another one, that'd be great. It's the same one that we have in the file, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just so that Mark can take a look.
I'm good.
Is it?
Just a
What, you
little-
got that?
That's
Okay.
Terry's old house. I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, are you?
Okay, all right, this is, all right, great. So it looks to me, based on the plan, that the heavy shaded area is the proposed addition?
Yeah, the circle area, the spot, yeah,
Okay,
there.
okay. And that's what you're doing, just squaring it off and enlarging the
Yep.
kitchen?
Yep, and adding a half bath, so
Okay,
it'll just be a better,
great. Better layout for the house, okay.
yeah.
Is there an electric sign on this one?
Do a tenth of a-
You're always good to get a laugh. All right, with that, Mark, I'll start on your end of the table, you're good?
I have no questions whatsoever on this.
Okay, John?
Nope, wonderful.
Okay, Dave?
No electric sign, I'm all set.
You're all set, okay? I'm all set too. Bill?
Is this a single story or?
It's a two-story house, very
Single
small,
family.
but single family,
On the hill on Harris Ave.
little tiny
Uncle
thing.
Harris had it, yeah, is your proposed addition, including addition in the second?
No, it'll just match the roof line that's currently there.
Uh-huh.
It comes down and it'll just be the same.
Square it off.
Yeah, just square it off like that. You can't go out the back because there's a bulkhead right there, so we're trying to do it this way instead.
Okay. And Brian? Doug?
No, I'm all set.
All set? Okay, with that, we're gonna close the hearing unless you have something else to add.
Can't think of anything.
Good. Okay, great. We'll close the hearing and we'll go right to a vote, gentlemen, if you'd like, and ladies. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, opposed? Congratulations, there's a 20-day appeal period. You'll hear something, you'll get something from town council in the mail. Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Good night.
It's always worthwhile.
Okay, with that, we're gonna go back to Campos. What's the pleasure of the board on Campos? I'll ask, by the way, on the board was myself, Joe Evans, John Dagnes, and Brian Falk, and 1, 2, 3, there was only 4 in that panel because it was a continued one. So, what's the favor of the board? I'm not going to vote on this one as far as,
He's been numerous violations down there. Always over the number of cars allowed. He always should clean the place up just for those pictures, so.
all right.
John?
So, first of all, I ask for, anyone in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay.
So that's denied. Okay, with that, I think that was all the hearings that we've covered tonight.
Yep.
Anything else we need to cover? With that, we'll say goodnight to everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Have a great evening.